Okay, I had to move again to get myself out of the pending sunlight. So let's see if we can wrap up chapter 6 um, while I have this remaining shade. So Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun, and it is common among men. A man to whom God has given riches and wealth and honor, so that he lacks nothing for himself of all he desires, and yet God does not give him power to eat of it, but a foreigner consumes it. This is vanity, and it is an evil affliction. He says, so while God has given you whatever it is that you have, take a big bite of it. Enjoy it. Just don't keep pursuing more so that you never enjoy what you have. I think Howard Hughes was probably one of the men who was most like that. He could indulge in anything he wanted in life, but he was always pursuing that next thing, and it made him ultimately depressed and discouraged and a recluse, and it isolated him from those that he loved and from the life that really God had intended to bless him with. Verse 3. If a man begets 100 children and lives many years, so that the days of his years are many, but his soul is not satisfied with goodness, or indeed he has no burial, I say that a stillborn child is better than he. For it comes in vanity and departs in darkness, and its name is covered with darkness. Though it has not seen the sun or known anything, this has more rest than that man. Even if he lives 1,000 years twice, but has not seen goodness, do not all go to one place? All the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the soul is not satisfied. If a man leaves behind many heirs and lives a long life, he can still be very empty when death suddenly comes. His summation is that ultimately everyone is out for themselves. This is kind of what Solomon sees. And they're only interested in what they drink, what satisfies their own appetites. Excuse me. The sad thing is he now has kind of come to the place in his life where he's attached his empty feeling in his pursuits with the emptiness of the relationships around him. He saw so many people that either really or maybe in his perception were only friends with him or cared for him because of his wealth, that he quickly distanced himself from everybody, and to where there was no one that he cared for. Listen, do not allow yourself to allow anything to pull you away from the fellowship of the wonderful people that God has put in your life, whether it's your children or your family or your friends. We are built for koinonia. Koinonia is the Greek word for partnership. It's a word of participation, of communication, of mutual benefaction, of a distribution. It's where I distribute to you from my gift sets and skill sets, and you in turn to me, and we both are benefiting from it. Everything about the word fellowship points towards engaging in a relationship that benefits both parties. I like just the word itself, fellowship. I picture two fellows in a ship together, floating down the ocean and only going somewhere when they work together. You see, Solomon missed it in so many people, as so many people do, because he was suspicious of what people might want from him. You know, I find this to be true as a pastor. You know, it's taken me a long time. I don't walk in and just build trust with people or have trust. I have to build it because they don't know me. Well, why don't they know me, or why don't they trust me? Well, because they are suspicious based on previous relationships, and so in many ways they miss out on the things that I may have to offer as their pastor and friend, because things I had nothing to do with, and so they alienate themselves. And same thing is true in our relationships with other people. Because we've been hurt by someone, we don't open up as readily to those around us and to others. I could never repay my friends Robert and Nolan for the wonderful things that they have brought in our relationship. But I would never even attempt to repay them. It's something that we mutually benefit from. Now, I want to talk to you about a guy he died miserable. And he kind of becomes symbolically a person who lived in a way to get what the world would give him, and ultimately all he got was sorrow and loneliness. And I think this is an important life to look at. His name is Jehoiakim, and he was the king of Judah from 609 BC to 597 BC. He ruled Judah while they were under the control of the pharaohs of Egypt. Now, before I get into the ramifications of that, I want to give you just a little bit more background about this guy. Jehoiakim became the king when his brother Jehoahaz was deposed by Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was not his birth name. It was changed to Jehoiakim. He was actually given the name Eliakim at his birth. That's in 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 24. But Pharaoh Necho changed his name to Jehoiakim, and that is now what he's mostly referred to. You see, his name Eliakim, his given name, it meant God will cause to rise, God will cause to lift up. But Jehoiakim means God has caused to stand or allowed to stand. You see, that's significant because an ancient pharaoh was an absolute monarch, supreme commander of the armies, of chief justice of the royals of the court. He was the high priest of all religions. His word was final and law. This is very significant, guys. His absolute power was seen in and defined in the words, well, what Pharaoh loves and what Pharaoh hates. What Pharaoh loves was established. What Pharaoh hated was done away with. He was believed to have divine power. All the pharaohs were believed to be divine. And they believed that he daily caused the sun to rise and caused it to set. They did this rite of the house of the morning ritual every morning where Pharaoh would go out and he would cause the sun. He would do this little ritual and the sun would come up. And if he didn't do it, the belief was that the sun would not rise. It was believed that this act was something that the pharaohs did daily, and even if the folks didn't see him do it, they knew that he did, or the sun would not have come up. You see, Pharaoh did not recognize the God of the Hebrews, and thus he did not respond to the name Eliakim. He did not recognize that God had caused Eliakim to rise. And so Eliakim became a puppet of Pharaoh, and his name was then changed to Jehoiakim. God has caused to stand. But in Pharaoh's mind, he was not referring to God of the Hebrews has caused to stand. He was saying, listen, I've killed everybody. I've totally taken your kingdom. And I'm God as Pharaoh, and I'm going to allow you to stand. It was completely a stab, if you will, a demeaning, supposed to be demeaning to Eliakim, this new name of Jehoiakim. But Jehoiakim accepted it. And he remained as the king of Judah. He didn't fight back. He didn't stand up against it. He became one of the most wicked and poor leaders of all of the kings of Judah. Jeremiah 22, verse 18 says, "Therefore, thus says the Lord concerning Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, they shall not lament for him, saying, Ah, my brother, or Ah, sister. They shall not lament for him, saying, O Lord, ah, his glory." Jeremiah 22:19 says, "He shall be buried with the burial of a donkey, drawn and cast forth beyond the gates of Jerusalem." You see, Jeremiah's recording his death. Listen, there's no one to mourn him. He's left no mark. He was completely concerned about his own welfare, and it was king. He should have been concerned about everybody else's welfare. God caused him to rise. God blessed him. God gave him the kingdom. And instead of looking out for the people and trusting the Lord to be his defense, he acquiesced to Pharaoh and even allowed Pharaoh to say, I'm allowing you to stand. The God of the Hebrews isn't letting you stand. I'm letting you stand. And so he completely looked out for himself, and as a result, he died alone, died like a donkey, and no friends, and no one that cared for him. And you know, that's just, that's the way the world is. If you remember, Egypt is a picture of the world, and as we consider how the world treats us, the world doesn't love us. The world is not out to make us better. It's going to offer us a better job, a bigger house, a nicer car, and all in that's going to do is it's just going to create this emptiness inside of us as we pursue those things. And as we pursue them, then we lose friendships, and we lose what's really important in life, and that's the people that God has put around us. I'm going to pause right here, Brett, and then we'll go from there.